The UW Health Transplant Center has reached an incredible milestone, 12,000. That is the number of kidneys that the center has transplanted, saving the lives of thousands. Medical director of the transplant program, Dr. Dixon Kaufman, says UW is one of few centers in the country that has transplanted that number of kidneys.
We share that with other centers around the country so they can increase their numbers as well. So we look forward to the future where we can transplant more people with better organs with less waiting time.
And Dr. Kaufman says if considered healthy, anybody can donate an organ to someone on their waiting list. It doesn't have to just be their family members.